Hey, it's Logan. I listened to 57 albums and 5 EPs from 10 different bands, and I'm going to rank all of them right here in this video. The 10 bands in question are The Strokes, Rare Americans, Kids See Ghost, Arctic Monkeys, Cage the Elephant, Kanye West, Linkin Park, Rustage, Of Monsters and Men, and Coldplay. And yes, I'm aware that Kids See Ghost is just pretty much a project from Kanye and Kid Cudi, but I decided to count it because it's a separate artist on Spotify, and it makes it easier to do this. Anyway, these are all just opinions, so I'm not a critic. I don't know music theory. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Disagree if you want. That's completely fine. In fact, I'm happy if you like an album I don't like, because then it means that that work exists for a reason. I'd love to hear all of your opinions also, just to see how our lists might be the same or how they might be different. And I'd love to hear arguments for the albums I don't like, of why you like them. This list is as of November 13th. Any albums or EPs released after that on Spotify will not be counted in this list, just in case this video comes out after something's released and it's not covered. Sorry, that's not in here. I should also say that I'm separating the artist from the art here. That should have no interference whatsoever with this list. I'm counting it purely based off of the music, without any actual personal opinions about any artists here. Just a disclaimer, I like every artist here as an artist. I respect all of their artistic visions. No one here that I dislike. You should form your own opinions and not listen to mine. I'll also note that I went through each of these albums twice, at least. Anyway, I guess pick your favorite album or EP and see how far it gets. We're going to start by ranking the EPs. There's only 5 of them, so I'm going to go pretty fast with those, and then we'll get on to albums where I will go much slower, much more in depth. Best of luck to each album and EP. Anyway, I think it's time for number 5.
I'm trying to understand what you want from me. What is your plan?
Songs That Don't Belong is Rare Americans' 2022 EP release. It's a bit of a mess. From my understanding, it's a collection of B-sides, and I think it's best that they kept it that way, because a lot of these songs are bland or even just outright bad. A couple of good songs on here, a couple of highlights in songs like Little White Lies and Drawing Swords, but even those are not excellent, they're just good. And then you get the bad songs like Tremendous, which have a weird reoccurring thing that Rare Americans likes to do, where they have a goofy voice or some goofy thing happen, and that makes the song good somehow. I don't like that. It's a bit of a pet peeve of mine with Rare Americans, and I've only seen them do it. And the songs that use that often are pretty low on my list. This EP is a bit of a mess. Not much to say about it other than that, though. The Kaleidoscope EP is Coldplay's 2017 release. It came 2 years after A Head Full of Dreams, and it has a lot of the same sounds as that album. It's also quite overproduced, and that makes a lot of the tracks on it really forgettable and really, bland and lifeless. I do love the song Aliens, though, off this EP, with its fun 5/4 thing it's got going on. And although I don't hate something just like this as much as a lot of other people do, it's still not like an excellent song. And then from there, it's just a lot of tracks I never really cared for. It's not bad. Not really great either, though, so I put it here at 4. On to number 3. Future Present Past is The Strokes' 2016 release, and it ranked here at number 3. It was really close with number 2, and I almost put it there for a moment, but I think this EP is just too inconsistent. There's 2 really good tracks on here, that being Oblivious and Thread of Joy, and then there's 2 tracks on here that I really don't really like. um, that being the Moretti remix and Drag Queen. The Moretti remix is a bit unnecessary. It doesn't add anything to the original Oblivious. And Drag Queen, although it has kind of an explosive, fun chorus, a lot of the verse content I really don't like. Meanwhile, Thread of Joy has that fun old stroke sound that made a lot of the first albums good. Um, and Oblivious is just a fun song that kind of has the new age strokes influence in it. And although those two songs are really great, and they're probably some of the best on any of the EPs that we're looking at, it's just wildly inconsistent, and I have to put it here at 3.
We live in a beautiful world. Yeah, we do, yeah, we do.
Coming in number 2 for the EPs is The Blue Room, which is Coldplay's 1999 release. This is the oldest EP that I've looked at, and it's pretty good. It's a good start to Coldplay. There's a lot of good tracks on here. A couple of them made it onto their first album, Parachutes, and those are also the ones that I like the most off this EP. I think Don't Panic's an amazing song. I think High Speed's super fun and has a great vibe to it. And despite that, the other songs on here aren't bad too. There's a lot of other good ones. Bigger Stronger is really fun. Such a Rush has its moments. I think the track See You Soon's kind of boring, but 1 out of 5 isn't bad. I do see the inspiration that Radiohead had on Coldplay in this album a lot. It's very clear. It's at its clearest here, I think. But I don't think that makes it bad or a ripoff. I still think Coldplay has its own distinct sound here. This album overall is a good start to Coldplay, and I'm probably going to return to it. Time for the best EP. The best EP, in my opinion, is the Prospects March EP, which is Coldplay's 2008 EP project. It came out the same day as Viva La Vida, and it has kind of cheated because it has a lot of tracks that are remixes of Viva La Vida on here. It has the Life in Technicolor 2, which is a great rendition to the original one. It has the Lovers in Japan remix, and it also has Lost featuring Jay-Z. I like all those songs off Viva La Vida, and I like them all off here too. But despite it kind of having the cheat code of having a lot of Viva La Vida on here, there's still some new songs on here, original songs, that are also really good. I like Glass of Water a lot with its explosive chorus. I like Rainy Day with its sort of electronic verses and stringed choruses. But despite this being the best EP, there's still some bland spots on here. I mean, honestly, I don't really care for any EP as much as some of the top albums. It's good, but it also has some boring tracks. Just Postcards from Far Away, Don't Let My Feet Touch the Ground, or Now My Feet Won't Touch the Ground. And I don't really care for the Prospects March Poppy Fields either. So overall, though, it's a great EP. It's really fun. It has the same energy as Viva La Vida, which is a good thing, because Viva La Vida is great. But that's the best EP, and I think it's time we move on to the 57 albums. So just to make clear, I'm only looking at the albums that are available on Spotify under the artist's page. So if there's any that for some reason aren't accounted for, they're not listed under the artist's discography in Spotify as of the date, as of November. But without further ado, I think it's time we look at number 57, the worst album that I've looked at.
Not thinking about our troubles tonight. We look for the light. Get lost in the moment and live.
Coming in number 57, in dead last, is Searching for Strawberries, The Story of Jongo Bongo by Rare Americans. I think people are going to think I hate Rare Americans for putting their album here in last and their EP in last, but in reality, I do really like Rare Americans. They have some albums much higher up, but their newer stuff doesn't do it for me. This is their 2023 release, and it's actually the first and only album thus far that I've listened to after fully reviewing the artist previously. So let's get into it. Let's start with the good parts, because despite this being the lowest, this isn't a all bad album. It still has its moments. I wouldn't say there's any tracks on here that are great, that are excellent, but it has great elements at times. I think the chorus to No Troubles is fun. I think the chorus to Use is fun. I think the pre-chorus to Stay Curious is fun. Chorus to Sunday Morning also is really dramatic and fun. These all have elements of fun moments, but overall it falls apart when you look at the entire song and when you look for like a deeper substance in a lot of them. And I'm not even mentioning the plethora of songs that don't have any good moments on them. So let's start with the fact that James Priestner, the singer of Rare Americans, his vocal takes on this album aren't very good. I feel like sometimes he puts like a weird accent sort of thing on his voice that doesn't sound great, and I don't know why he does it, but it ruins a lot of the verses in this album. And I accent's not the right word, just like I don't know, he just puts on a different voice, I guess. There's also the bad tracks on here, which I haven't mentioned yet, like Odd Ducks, and especially like Fuck You Elmo, which might be the worst song that I've reviewed thus far. I don't think anything about that song works, and it makes me question what the band was thinking putting the song together. From the James McEnroe sample at the beginning, to the La La La's, to the lyrics, it's just a giant mess, and I cannot say that I care for this song in the slightest. And then there's also songs on here that are just completely odd, like Good Eats. It has a fun instrumental, but the song's just about food. It's just about how James Priestner, and I guess other band members as well, like food and grew up with food. And it's an interesting concept, but it's just it's presented in a way that feels completely unnecessary and doesn't add to the album in the slightest. So overall, this album is a bit of a mess. There's a lot of things that could have been improved here, but it's not completely horrible. It's not a 0 out of 10. Hopefully Rare Americans can bounce back from this. I think they can. I hope they can, because I do like a lot of their work, but this just did not work. It fell very flat. I think that's all I have to really say about that. Let's move on to number 56. Coming in number 56 is Coldplay's 2021 album, Music of the Spheres. This is the most recent album that I've listened to, and it's very low on the list because it is not very good. And I think that is not a hot take. I think a lot of people don't like this album, and I can see where they're coming from. A lot of this album doesn't work. I guess I'll start by saying that the stylization of this album with the emojis as names is kind of silly. It doesn't really break any of the songs, but it's not great. And a lot of the songs on here anyway don't work. Human Heart is boring. Let Somebody Go is boring. Beautiful is very annoying. I don't like chipmunked vocals very much, and the entire first part of this song is chipmunked vocals, and I can't stand it. It might be my least favorite Coldplay song. Pupil of the Pride isn't good. I mean, My Universe is okay. It's one of the better songs on this album, but it's not great. It's the hit off this album. A lot of people like Coloratura. Personally, I don't care for that one very much either. I guess I could see why people might like it, but it's never been my cup of tea. I think the only good parts of this album are near the beginning with songs like Higher Power and Humankind, which are fun and I think capture the essence of what this album wanted to be, which I guess I should say this is a concept album, and the concept's a little silly. And it's supposed to be spacey, right? It's Music of the Spheres. It's a space-themed album. but I think Coldplay did Spacey much better on X and Y. So if I ever wanted to listen to a Spacey record, why would I revisit this album when X and Y exists, which does what it wants much better? This album had an interesting idea. It could have been good, but it fell flat with a lot of the execution, which was really questionable at times. And I just don't like this album. So I guess let's move on to number 55.
Life like this is what your life like. Try to live your life right. People really know you push your buttons like type right.
Coming in number 55 is Jesus is King by Kanye West. It's his 2019 release. And I don't have much to say about this record. I think a lot of people agree that this is his worst record. I don't know if they'd put it this low, but I am, because honestly, this record kind of went in one ear out the other. None of the songs really stuck with me. There's decent songs on here, like Use This Gospel and Follow God, but overall, it's just a little bland. There's not much to it. It doesn't do anything actively bad like Music of the Spheres and like Searching for Strawberries, but I still dislike it because it just doesn't have much to it that I care for. And then there's also just tracks on here that aren't good, like Closed on Sunday, which is hilarious. And I feel like I should be talking about this album more, but I don't have much to say about it. It doesn't stick with me at all, and that's why I'm putting it this low. On to number 54. Coming in number 54 is Donda by Kanye West. It's his 2021 release. It's his most recent release as of now. And I don't like it very much. It's very long, and I think it's quite bloated to the point where a lot of the tracks kind of muddle together and become forgettable. With a lot of albums, I feel like I can remember at least moments from each song, but with an album like Donda, I honestly remember like 4 songs. I don't remember nearly as much as I would with a shorter album, and I think part of that's to blame with how bloated it is and how hard it is to remember all these tracks, because a lot of them have a very similar sound, and I like the sound that it's going for, which is why it's not lower, but a lot of the tracks don't stick out, like with Jesus is King. That's not to say there's no good tracks on here. Come to Life is good, Moon is good, Hurricane's good. But I've never quite liked this album as much as some other people. So I put it here. Like with Jesus is King, I don't have much to talk about in this album. Other than it's a bit better. But I think it's time we move on to number 53.
Frozen hearts and worlds apart, feel so empty all alone.
Coming in number 53 is Atlantic by Rustage. It's his 2017 project. It's his debut project. And it's not great. I'll start by saying that I understand Rustage isn't really known for his albums, but more for his singles, so maybe I'm missing the point by listening to Rustage's albums, but oh well. I'm going to put it here. I'll start by saying that the production on this album isn't great. A lot of the songs are just Rustage doing his normal rapping thing, and then it's followed by like an electronic chorus that is very no copyright sounds-esque. And Rustage's rapping here isn't very great. He doesn't really change up what he's doing very much, and his lyrics are okay. Some of the features on here are fun, but some of them are also kind of questionable, which makes a lot of the songs okay, mediocre once again. And then there's a song on here, Living Corpse. I need to talk about this. It does not fit the album at all, and it's probably the worst Rustage song. It's not good. It's very creepy, which I get that's what it's going for, but like it's unsettling. I don't like that song. And I think Rustage handles more mature topics, I guess, better elsewhere. I don't really know what he was doing with this track. And then there's just a lot of cheesy songs on here, a little corny, which is fine. But overall, the production on here and the vocals and the lyrics, all of it's not great. Rustage improves upon it in future projects, but right here, it's just not very good. And I have to put it this low for that. So, time for number 52.
Don't get emotional, that ain't like you.
Coming in number 52 is The Car, which is Arctic Monkeys' 2022 album. It's mediocre. A lot of this album, like with a lot of the ones we've been stating, are very forgettable. A lot of the songs out here are very forgettable, that is. What's saving it is the opening track, There Better Be a Mirror Ball, which might be like one of the best songs I've reviewed from that year. It's an amazing track. I love it. But I feel like every other song on this album is like discount Mirror Ball. It's not great. It has the same sound, but it's not nearly as memorable, nearly as good. A lot of the instrumentation on this album's pretty good, I think. I don't remember a lot of it in the way that it's forgettable, but I think it's well done, and I think this album deserves a re-listen because I think I'm missing something here. But as it is, a lot of the tracks are just so forgettable. I remember listening to this album, and I'm like, what happened? What happened in this album? I couldn't remember. Because it doesn't do anything worthwhile, I feel like, in its runtime. And honestly, I just want to start talking about good albums, so I'm going to go to the next one instead of talking about how yet another album's pretty forgettable. We're going to go on to number 51. Coming at number 51 and just missing the top 50 is Fever Dream of Monsters and Men. This is their 2019 album. We're getting out of the forgettable bad territory and just getting into the bad territory. This album is a huge disappointment coming off the back of their first two albums. They kind of dropped a lot of the sort of mystical, folk, whimsical stuff that they had and replaced it with a more gritty pop sound, I feel like, and I don't like the direction they went with. I'm not mad that they changed their sound. I'm just more upset that it doesn't sound good. I mean, there's some good songs on here, I guess. Wild Roses is fun. Row, Row, Row is fun. Alligator's a pretty good opening track. But a lot of the songs on here just feel a little bland, which is weird to say for Monsters and Men, because usually they have these fun stories and fun, interesting music. But this time it kind of fell flat, and it felt really just, I don't know, just didn't hit the same, I guess. A lot of the songs on here are kind of boring, like Waiting for the Snow, Stuck in Gravity, Under a Dome, Sleepwalker. Like, these tracks are just, they don't have the same magic that of Monsters and Men had, and it's replaced with something that's kind of bland, and that I don't care for very much. It has its moments, and that's why it's not lower down, but overall, it's just not a great album, and I hope that Of Monsters and Men can recover from this in their next album, if they make one. And with that, we are getting into the top 50. Coming in number 50 is Milo Xyloto, which is Coldplay's 2011 album. It's very weak. This came right off the back of Viva La Vida, and I was excited to listen to it because I was getting ready for a fun pop record, and instead I was heavily disappointed. This album's bland. It's really poorly executed. It starts good, but it quickly drops off. It starts with the track, not counting the opening track, which is an instrumental. It starts with Hurts Like Heaven, which is a good track, a really fun pop track. And then it goes into Paradise, which is the big hit off this album. And although I like the verses of this track, the chorus is very overblown, very melodramatic. And then we go into Charlie Brown, which, once again, it has a good start, but once it gets to the all the boys, all the girls part, I feel like it isn't great at that point. And then after that, it just falls into a very sugar-coated, poorly mixed almost album. I mean, some people like Every Teardrop is a Waterfall. Personally, I hate the lyrics on that song to the point where I can't even enjoy the fun guitars as much. And there's tracks on here like Don't Let It Break Your Heart, which are just horribly, like, I feel like Coldplay forgot about dynamics because that song, I feel like it's trying to be so loud all the time where it's just a bunch of white noise. And then there's tracks like Up in Flames, which are so stripped back, where it's like so hard to get through, where it's just, there's nothing there, there's no content there. And then there's just a lot of forgettable tracks again. So this album, it's a big mixed bag, but most of the bag is pretty bad, pretty forgettable once again. And it was disappointing coming off of this from Viva La Vida, which I've now mentioned like twice in this video despite it not popping up yet. Let's just get on to number 49. Coming in number 49 is Thank You, Happy Birthday by Cage the Elephant. This is their 2011 release, and it is a little weird. It's a bit of a weird album. A lot of the songs on here I don't like. I feel like Matt Schultz in a lot of the songs is just yelling and trying to be as annoying as possible at times and trying to have that sort of gritty feeling to the music, but it's not great on a lot of these tracks like it was on the original Cage the Elephant album. There's some good tracks on here. Always Something has some promise. Shake Me Down. I never cared for Aberdeen because I feel like Matt Schultz once again is just screaming in the chorus. And then there's a lot of tracks on here that are just straight up not good, like Indie Kids, Sell Yourself, Sabertooth Tiger, Doctor, Doctor, Doctor. I mean, the list goes on of tracks on here where it's just like, it isn't very good. And they're not forgettable per se, but they're just really gritty to the point where it's not enjoyable to listen to, and it's not well executed enough, I think. And it makes the album a lot less enjoyable. I'm going to point out the track Japanese Buffalo, which is a weird one because the first half is possibly some of the worst moments of this album, with Matt Schultz just screaming and like not making any sense and not making a enjoyable song. But then once it hits the second half, it's like the best part of this album. Like this track is so divisive for me because the first half sucks and the second half is great. And I feel like that's a good summary of this album, where there's stuff on here that's good, but a lot of it's just Matt Schultz doing weird stuff. It's just a weird project to go between their first and third album, and I don't like it. On to number 48.
I've been drowning in the silence of a bad dream. They all love it but don't know a thing about me.
Coming in number 48 is Overflow, which is Rustage's 2021 project. It is a big step up from Atlantic. The production's a lot better. Rustage's rapping is better. The features are better. But it still has a lot of the same issues where a lot of the tracks aren't quite memorable. The electronic drops that were in Atlantic aren't quite there anymore, and it makes the choruses more interesting. But then there's also songs on here that are just insanely, like, I don't know, not great. The track UK Bias is a really kind of overblown, boring song. Captain's Quarters has promise with an interesting instrumental, but then it gets to a verse. I don't know who sings this verse. I know it's not Rustage, but I don't know which of the other artists it is, where there's like the hibbity-gibbity stuff. It is so bad. I hate it. It's not very well done. And then there's just, I don't know, a lot of tracks on here that I don't care for especially. It's a lot better than the first. It's a lot better than the Atlantic, I should say. But overall, Rustage still has a lot to improve upon, and he does improve in his next album, but this album, not bad, but it's pretty generic, and it has its moments, but it also has its moments of bad. On to number 47.
Sharp edges have consequences. I guess that I had to find out for myself.
Coming in number 47 is One More Light by Linkin Park. This was their 2017 release, and I think a lot of people don't like this album, and although I don't think it's great, I think it is a little underrated. There's some tracks in here that I think are genuinely very good and add some quality to it. Mainly, I'm talking about Sharp Edges and One More Light. Both those songs, I think, are pretty beautiful. But I do agree that a lot of the production on here is really cheesy. And I know it's supposed to be pop, but it's not executed very well. That being said, there are good moments even on the songs I don't consider as good. I like the chorus of Nobody Can Save Me. I like certain parts of Heavy and Halfway Right, but overall this album does have a lot of faults to it. But it's not horrible. It's not horrible. '56 is A Head Full of Dreams, which is Coldplay's 2015 release. This album's alright. I was kind of worried getting into it that it was going to be another Milo Xyloto. And although it isn't great, I think it improves on a lot of the things that Milo Xyloto did wrong. The dynamics is much better in this entire record. There's still some bland overproduction in here. But it's just a much better album overall. A lot of catchy hooks in here. Songs like Adventure of a Lifetime, Everglow, Him for the Weekend, Birds. A lot of good tracks on here. There are bad tracks, though, still. Like X Marks the Spot, which is the bonus track to Army of One. That song is hilariously not good. And I think the story is, I don't know how true it is, that this song was made in like 10 minutes, and it shows. So yeah, it's overproduced. It's kind of boring at times, but it is a big improvement to Milo Xyloto. Although none of the individual tracks on here are great, I think as a whole this album's mediocre. I still think it's worse than average. I still think it's not good, but it's much better than I thought it would be.
Close your eyes and let the word paint 1,000 pictures. One good girl is worth 1,000 bitches. Bam!
Coming in number 45 is Yeezus, which is Kanye West's 2013 record. I know that this is a divisive album, and I'm on the side that doesn't really care for this album. I don't think it's horrible. I can appreciate the effort that went into this album and the direction it took, but overall I'm not a huge fan. There's tracks on here like I Am a God and I'm In It, which I think are kind of bad. But it's also canceled out by the good tracks, like Black Skinhead and Bound 2, which are both really great tracks. And then outside of those four tracks, a lot of the other ones kind of fit in the middle, where they're pretty good and have some interesting components to them, but they don't quite stand out in a way I'd like them to. And so it makes this album something that I respect a lot more than I enjoy. It's grown on me since my first listen. The first time I really didn't like it, but it's growing on me slowly but surely, so in the future maybe it'll move up the rankings, but for now I'm going to put it here. Mediocre album, kind of good, respectable effort here, but not my taste, not my cup of tea. On to number 44.
The earth starts shaking, the waves are breaking. It's every man for himself. Grab the shit that you need. Get away with your help.
You're Not a Bad Person, It's Just a Bad World is Rare American's 2022 album. Came out before Songs That Don't Belong, but it is part of the trend of Rare Americans getting worse and worse. This is probably the most middling album for me out of like any album I reviewed. It's not good. It's not something I like, but it's not something I dislike either. It's like a perfectly indifferent album. All the songs on here, or I shouldn't say that. A lot of the songs on here are decent. They have memorable moments, but it's not very moving either. It's not something that I walk away from this album and I've learned anything. And then there's songs on here that aren't great. Lose My Cool I don't like very much. It's trying to be this angry, sort of, like, tense song, but I don't think it really delivers. I think it's a little more goofy in the way it kind of comes off. And there's a lot of songs on here that have promise. Love Is All I Bring is a good song. Run the World has a really interesting chorus, but the second verse is kind of weird in the way that James delivers his vocals again. Green Eyed Monster, that's how it's stylized. I hate the stylization of that song. And it has an interesting concept once again, interesting verses, and the chorus is a little overblown, but it's alright. So this album is the marking point of going from talking about albums I don't like to albums that I'd say I like. So I say it's time to move on to the good, starting with number 44.
You look like you've been for breakfast at the Heartbreak Hotel. Inside in the back booth by the...
Coming in number 43 is Suck It and See by Arctic Monkeys. It's their 2011 release. I think this starts this string of 3 albums where I like the general sound of the albums, but the individual songs aren't all that great. And I put this one as the lowest of those 3. I kind of like the sort of interesting rock vibe that this one gives off. And it has some good songs on it. Pile Driver Waltz is great. Black Treacle, Star Spangled Sha-La-La-La-La, She's Thunderstorms. I mean, there's a lot of good tracks on this thing. I like it. But it's also kind of has its other side, like a lot of albums do, of bad tracks. In this case, it's songs like Don't Sit Down Because I've Moved Your Chair and Library Pictures, where it's really unnecessary, and they're songs that I don't really like all that much. And I don't know why and how they got on the album. And then there's a fair mix of songs I don't really care for that much. But overall, I like the sound of this album. It works together. It's pretty cohesive despite its weak moments. It's a fun listen. Although I think it takes time to grow on you. It's just above indifference for me. Good tracks, bad tracks. I think it's time we move on to number 42.
Well, it's cold, 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 cold inside. Colder in the day than the dead of night.
Coming in number 42 is Tell Me I'm Pretty, which is Cage the Elephant's 2015 album. It is the middle of that string of 3 albums where the vibe's good, but songs kind of fall apart. Not fall apart, they're cohesive, but they're not excellent songs on their own. And this one here has a fun sort of vibe of 50s inspired music, I'd say. But once again, the individual songs are just good. I mean, there's good songs on here. Cold, 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 Trouble, Too Late to Say Goodbye, Sweetie Little Jean. It has its good fair share of good tracks. And unlike Suck and See, it doesn't have any tracks that really stand out as bad. I think there's more just tracks on here that are mediocre. And that's what kind of gives it an edge over that album. Although, I must say, the vibe of this one I do like less than that of Suck It and See. I just think it's a more cohesive album. Once again, it's another album. It's alright. I don't have much to say about it. And I won't have much to say about the next one either. Hopefully, as we get further to the top, I'll have more to say about these albums. But as of now, it's good. It's a good album. It's fine. It does what it wants to do, and it doesn't do anything more. Let's move on to number 41. Coming in number 41 is Living Things, which is Linkin Park's 2012 album. It is the best of this string of 3 albums I keep mentioning, and the vibe of this one is a sort of electronic nu metal fusion, which I think is really fun, and I think is done pretty well. And all the tracks on here kind of do it very well. A lot of great tracks like Lost in the Echo, Roads Untraveled, Castle of Glass. I mean, the list goes on and on. A lot of the tracks on here are pretty good. What brings it down is that there are some tracks on here that are quite bad, where I feel like they go too into nu metal and they try to be too heavy with it. And I'm talking about tracks like Victimized and Lies, Greed, Misery and Until It Breaks, which is also kind of a mediocre song. These 3 tracks kind of bring the album down a little bit. But overall, there's a lot of tracks on here that, although they don't stand out in like excellence, they're good. They have a fun vibe to them, and it's fun to listen to them and listen through the album because it's cohesive, even if that cohesion's a little broken from the bad tracks. I'm putting this at the top of this string just because I think it's fun. It's a fun album to listen to. Um, and then with that, we've covered the sub 40s, and we're getting into the top 40 albums. So I guess without further ado, let's look at number 40. A Thousand Suns is Linkin Park's 2010 album. It's very experimental for Linkin Park, and I think a lot of people really like this album, but personally it just didn't do it for me. I'll start by saying that a lot of the tracks on this album are more so skits and intermissions and interludes, which isn't bad, but when you do something like that, the actual songs on the album have to be quite good, I think. And at times it achieves that, and at times it doesn't. I'll say that Waiting for the End is probably my favorite Linkin Park song, and possibly one of my favorite songs that I've reviewed thus far. It's a very good track, and there's like nothing wrong about it almost. But from there's kind of layers. It goes down to the next layer, which is good, and there's songs like The Messenger and Burning in the Skies, and maybe When They Come For Me, although that one's a little worse. And then you just keep going down, and then there's just a lot of tracks on here that I don't particularly care for, which I feel like a lot of people like, but I don't. Blackout, Iridescent, Robot Boy, and I know this one's gonna hurt, make some people angry, but The Catalyst, I never cared for that song. So even though it has like the best Linkin Park track on here, it's kind of weighed down by a lot of tracks I don't care for, and I like the direction they went with. I like the experimental nature of this album, but the thing with experimental is sometimes it doesn't work, and I think here it kind of doesn't work, and I think this album deserves a re-listen just because a lot of people like it, and I'm probably missing something, but as of now, it's okay. It's okay, but there's a lot better out there. With that, we'll move on to 39.
What if Mary was in the club, but she met Joseph around hella thugs?
Coming in number 39 is The Life of Pablo, which is Kanye West's 2016 album. I know a lot of people aren't going to like this take, but this album to me was only okay. I had high hopes getting into it because I know a lot of people like this album, but after going through it twice, I still kind of left with not a lot. I didn't care much for it, and I think a lot of the songs on here are a little forgettable. I mean, there's some great songs on here, don't get me wrong. Wolves is great, Father Stretch My Hands Part 1, Real Friends, St. Pablo, but I think there's a lot of stuff on here that's also a little overrated. And although I think the production's great on this album, and I like the energy of this album, it doesn't live up, I think, to what I expected it to be. And although my expectations don't influence the rankings, this album overall is still just okay. It's good. I liked it, but there's just too many tracks on here that just don't do too much. And so I put it here at number 39. I think Kanye has done a lot better. But this isn't a bad project. Let's move on to number 38. Everyday Life is Coldplay's 2019 album. I originally liked this album a lot because it kind of went against the mold of the pop sort of sound that they were going for with their recent albums. But as time's gone on, this album's kind of gotten worse for me, as although I like the more raw, stripped back sound that they go for here, when you really look at it, a lot of the songs on here just aren't great still, despite that fun new sound that they went for. I mean, there's good tracks on here. Arabesque is good. Guns, Trouble in Town. But then you look at it, and a lot of the songs on here kind of float by and don't do much in their runtime. And then there's just a bunch of kind of half songs that feel almost incomplete. And then you kind of look at it, and this album looks like a lot more of a mess And although it's a fun mess, it's fun to get through with all of its sort of odd components, it kind of isn't completely cohesive, and not all the songs are very entertaining. So I'd recommend this album to anyone who likes Coldplay, because I think it's an interesting direction they took here. But looking at it more analytically, it just kind of doesn't quite work, I feel like, all that well. So I'm going to put it here, and we can move on to number 37.
Someday we gon' set it off. Someday we gon' get this off.
Coming in number 37 is Yay by Kanye West. It's his 2018 project. One of his 2018 projects. It's alright. It has its good, it has its bad. I thought About Killing You as an interesting start. Good first impression for this album. Keeps it intriguing. The song Yikes is also a good follow-up. That song's really fun. And then you get to the song All Mine, which I hate. I hate All Mine a lot. I don't know if that's a hot take, but it might be like my least favorite Kanye song. It's just does not do anything for me. And then it goes into Wouldn't Leave, and then No Mistakes, both of which are okay songs. And then Ghost Town, which I think is a very good song, very powerful, very touching, one of Kanye's best. And then it ends off with Violent Crimes, which is also really good. And so this album, it's almost a mixed bag. I mean, it has one really bad song on it, but outside of that, I think it is pretty good. And I enjoyed this album quite a bit. It has a pretty good sound to it, but it's not anything that's gonna change my life in a crazy way. It's good. It's good enough. On to number 36. Coming in number 36 is AM by the Arctic Monkeys. It's their 2013 project, which I feel like might be a bit divisive. I think a lot of people really like this album. Some think it's a little cold and calculated, and I think I agree with both points to an extent. This album's filled with some good tracks, some bad tracks, some boring tracks. And I do see that it can be cold and calculated at times, but at other times it feels a little warmer. There's good tracks on here. Number 1, Party Anthem is really nice. Fireside's a really good track. Snap Out of It's super fun to listen to. A lot of the big songs off here are pretty good as well. Do I Wanna Know, Are You Mine, both good tracks. And that's not to say there's weak tracks on here, because there are. Like I Want It All, Mad Sounds, I Wanna Be Yours isn't great. But overall, I think this album is simultaneously overrated and underrated, which is a little weird. It's a good album, but it's not consistent enough and not great enough to quite master the sound it's going for, which is why I put it a little low. So I guess on to number 35.
Rise up above all the static. Oh, you get what you pay for.
Coming in number 35 is Sword and Sorcery, which is the 2023 Rustage and McGuire album. This is day 2 of filming, if you couldn't tell by my change of shirts, and I think we're also getting to a point where I can talk a lot more about each individual album. So, giving this the full rundown, it's definitely the best Rustage album up to this point in terms of production, which has gotten better throughout each album, and also the McGuire features just really save this album in a way. They're all really fun. McGuire has a great voice. I think Rustage's rapping complements it a lot. The opening track, Wizards, alright, but it only gets better going into Haley's Comet, which is this nice McGuire-driven sort of guitar ballad thing, and then Hold Me Down, which has a lot of fun tension in it, which you don't see a lot in the Rustage tracks. That goes on to Free Fall, which is okay, and then Static, which is my personal favorite off this album, just because it's very happy. And although overtly happy songs can sometimes be a little annoying, this one I think does it well, and it pulls it off in a way that's really fun to listen to. This goes into songs like My Moment, which is fine, and then Devil's Luck, which is a really fun sort of piratey track, and then Before Your Eyes, which is kind of more for the experience, not a great track on its own, but kind of combines a lot of the earlier tracks into one big thing. So overall, this album's a big improvement um, from Overflow and especially from Atlantic. So I can't wait to see what Rustage puts out next because, I mean, despite this album not having a lot of value in terms of like a lot of deep meaning, it is a very fun album to listen to. I do enjoy it. Um, but unfortunately, it just lacks some deeper meaning in certain spots, and some of the tracks are only okay. So I put it here at number 35. Without further ado, let's look at number 34.
The wolves are out, Ruby Soho shouting, cats sing heat, blood on street.
Coming in number 34 is Jamesy Boy and the Screw Loose Zoo, which is Rare American's 2022 album. It is a little bloated, even the non-deluxe version, which is the big issue with it, because it does have a good amount of decent tracks here. Unfortunately, however, it does kind of signify the start of the downfall of Rare Americans, where each successive album gets worse and worse. This is the first one that gets worse. Although it's still not bad, it's still okay. The deluxe version starts with intro and it has a couple of skits in it, but the regular one has a lot of great tracks as well. It has Baggage, which is just a really fun pop song that is really enjoyable. Walkin' and Talkin', which is also quite fun. Black Sheep is good. Rhythm Kitchen's good. I mean, it's track after track of pretty good songs. Unfortunately, it starts to get a little worse as the album goes on. Songs like Shay and Good Guy are okay, and then there's songs like Wild Imagination and Hey Sunshine, which are just completely cheesy and I don't really like. I mean, there's good songs in the back half as well, but it's just much more back and forth between good and bad, because there's Pandora's Box, Full Moon, Wayne's World 2, Fuck You Pal, all those are great songs. Baby Boy's pretty good. And then there's some mediocre songs where I feel like they could have been left out because they just didn't stand out much, like PhD and Steam to Blow. And then there's the track was it Mama Bear? Yeah, Mama Bear, which is just one of those songs where I feel like Rare Americans completely missed the mark. They have the dumb vocal stuff that they like to do sometimes. It has these really weird structures with giant tonal shifts. Overall, it's pretty mediocre. This album is just a little less than the sum of its parts, I feel like, where although there's a lot of good tracks on here, it doesn't really tie together in a really great way. It kind of just seems like a collection of tracks. And although they do have a similar sound, like they definitely sound like they belong on this album's still a bit of a mess, which is kind of why it's a little low. It has good, it has bad, and it has very bad. But I'm going to put it here at number 34 because there's just albums that kind of do what it's doing a little better. Rare Americans albums that's doing what it's doing a little better. So yeah, let's go on to number 33.
I want new friends, but that I want me. They're making friends while I'm on TV.
Coming in number 33 is The New Abnormal, which is the Strokes' 2020 project. This is the worst ranking Strokes album, which is kind of crazy because I think the best lowest album up to this point was like Linkin Park with One More Light, which was like 50 something, 40 something. So I think this is a testament to the consistency of the Strokes. And I'm still going to get a lot of flack for this placement, I think, because a lot of people consider this one of their best albums. Personally, it just doesn't hit as much as their other previous works, but that doesn't mean it's a bad album. It's a very good album, actually. It starts with The Adults Are Talking, which is iconic and also really groovy, which goes on to Selfless and Brooklyn Bridge, which are two amazing tracks. I love them both thoroughly. From start to finish, those are both really fun, really emotional. Bad Decisions is okay for me. I can't get over the fact that it just sounds like Dancing with Myself. Eternal Summer's okay. At the Door's okay. They're both a little long or a little slow for me, but I see the idea there, and I see where it's trying to go, and I appreciate that. I like those songs a decent amount. This goes into Why Are Sundays So Depressing, which is an amazing track with some really fun guitar tones, really amazing chorus. And then Not the Same Anymore, and then finally Ode to the Mets, which is just an iconic track. It's very good. And honestly, even though this is my least favorite Strokes album. I wouldn't be angry if the Strokes continued to go in this sort of direction with their future albums, because I mean it's still great, and I can see a world where an album like this is my favorite Strokes album, but it just didn't hit as much as the other ones, which is fine. Overall, this album has a really fun feel to it. It's a great album. Big recommend. I'm sure you'll like it more than I do. But with that, let's go on to number 32.
Take it easy for a little while. Come and stay with us. It's such an easy flight. Cute new places keep on popping up.
Coming in number 32 is Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino by the Arctic Monkeys. It's their 2018 project. This album, I feel, gets a little underrated sometimes. I like the concept. It's a concept album. It's a very fun concept. The main issue is that not all the tracks are all that great. For some reason, a lot of the tracks I like are the ones that most people don't like, and a lot of the very popular ones I don't like as much, except for 4 out of 5, which is both popular and I love it. That track is amazing. Very fun chorus, very fun idea, great lyrics. But a lot of the other popular ones, like Star Treatment, 1 Point Perspective, they're okay. they have that lounge vibe that this entire album's going for, and although I think those are like the loungiest tracks, I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan of it. I kind of like the more, I guess the less loungy Arctic Monkeys tracks. American Sports is the 3rd track off this album. That one is really fun. It has some fun piano, some fun electrical components, great lyrics. I love that track. That goes into the title track, which is pretty good. Golden Trunks is a little weak, but then it goes into 4 out of 5, and then World's First Ever Monster Truck Front Flip, which is also a great song, and then Science Fiction, and then She Looks Like Fun, which is a really fun span of tracks that I feel like go overlooked sometimes. Unfortunately, it ends off with Bat Phone and Ultra Cheese, which are fine songs, but they don't stick out as much as a lot of the rest of this album. You can kind of end off on an odd, weak note, and it makes this album a little forgettable in some ways. Although I think a lot of the tracks on here could have been executed better, I do like the idea here, and I think a lot of it was done well, and a lot of it gets overlooked. But it's still, lots can be improved about it, so I put it here. Let's go on to number 31.
I invented sweat. Popping bottles, putting supermodels in the cab. Proof. I guess I got my swagger back. Truth.
Here at number 31, we got Watch the Throne, which is the Kanye West Jay-Z collab album from 2011. It's very fun, thoroughly fun. It starts off with No Church in the Wild, which I know is very iconic, but honestly, it's not one of my favorite tracks on this album. I think there's a lot of tracks that go overlooked here, because this entire album is just a bunch of fun tracks that I'm surprised I don't hear more often. I'm surprised aren't talked about more often. Liftoff's pretty good, and then it goes into a bunch of iconic tracks like Paris and Otis. I'm not a fan of Gotta Have It, personally. New Day has such a fun vibe to it that I can just kind of sit back and like close my eyes, and it's a very beautiful track. And then it kind of goes into a state of a lot of sort of good tracks, a lot of sort of bad tracks. Ends off with Why I Love You, at least the normal edition does. And that's a good closing track. Overall, similar to a lot of the albums in this area, where there's a lot of good tracks, a couple of mediocre ones, and then there's a good flow throughout it. Watch the Throne's going to be put here. Let's dive into the top 30.
And when it falls down, who you gonna call now? Come on. And when it all falls down.
Coming in number 30 is The College Dropout, which is Kanye West's 2004 album. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for putting it this low, because a lot of people consider this the best, or one of the best hip-hop rap albums of all time, but personally, it just didn't do it for me. It's still good. It starts off with the track We Don't Care, which is really fun, and it kind of continues with a lot of fun tracks like All Falls Down and Spaceship and Jesus Walks, Never Let Me Down. I mean, a lot of iconic tracks, but I don't think it's quite perfect. I think there are tracks on here that are misses, like the New Workout Plan, and Breathe In, Breathe Out never did it for me. School Spirit's fine. And then you get a lot of great tracks near the end as well, like 2 Words, Through the Wire, Family Business, and even Last Call. even despite its long run time, it still has a lot of value to it, I think. So really, it's kind of the middle section I feel is dragging this album down mostly. Once again, it's not bad by any means. It's a very good album. But just doesn't feel as solid as I'd like it to be. And it's a good debut album, but it's gonna stay here at number 30. On to number 29. Coming in number 29 is Minutes to Midnight, which is Linkin Park's 2007 album. This one's very solid. At first, I really loved this album, but as time's gone on, it's just kind of died down for me a little bit because I feel like it's a little, not commercial, but I'd say that it is a little more, I guess, commercial, for lack of a better word. It has a lot of tracks on here that just are only okay and doesn't feel like it has the same grit as Linkin Park's two previous albums. And there also isn't as much of a cohesive flow from track to track as their previous albums. It starts with Given Up, which is honestly not that great of a song in my opinion. It's kind of a weak opener. And I feel like it's kind of a foreshadowing for the rest of the album where they're trying to have that old sound still, but in a new way. But the new way isn't very great. There's good tracks on here, though. It goes into Leave Out All the Rest, which is great. Bleed It Out is kind of okay. Shadow of the Day, What I've Done, those are both tracks that are very good. I'm not a big fan of Hands Held High. I feel like it's a little cheesy, although the message is good. No More Sorrow is my favorite off this album. I think it captures that Linkin Park essence the best, and it's a fun track. And then it kind of goes into the ending part, which is a little weak. It goes into Valentine's Day, which is only okay. In Between, which is kind of weak. In Pieces is pretty good, but then it goes into the little things that give you away, which I know a lot of people love that song, but personally it just, I don't know, it just kind of goes on a little too long for me. So overall, this album, once again, good tracks, bad tracks, interesting ideas behind it, but it's just going to fall short of being a great album, and I'm going to put it here at number 29. On to number 28. Coming in number 28 is Late Registration by Kanye West. It's his 2005 project. I don't mean to be doing kind of a Kanye massacre here with putting like 3 of his albums in the last 4 spots, but that's just kind of how it turned out. This album I think is an improvement off the first one. It has much more nighttime vibe, I feel like, and I think it has some better value in it. But I feel like it has a lot of the same mistakes as well, where there's a lot of albums that just don't do it for me. Starts off strong with tracks like Heard 'Em Say, Touch the Sky, and Gold Digger, which are all really fun, really strong. Drive Slow is also really fun. But as the album goes on, it kind of goes into somewhat weaker tracks like Crack Music, which never did it to me. But then it goes back to like Roses, Bring Me Down Addiction. So really this first half of the album is really strong, and if it kind of kept that up, I think this would be one of my favorite Kanye albums. But unfortunately, it goes into tracks like We Major, Celebration, Gone, Late, all tracks that I don't really care about all that much. And it unfortunately kind of drops the album for me as it kind of like grinds to a halt, I guess. Which is unfortunate because honestly, the first, half, 2/3 of this album is really great. And even the tracks that are weaker on here aren't necessarily bad, they're just kind of weak. The production on them is very good. They have interesting moments, but there's just parts of them that I don't particularly like. But with everything being said, I like this album, but I'm going to keep it here at number 28. On to number 27. Coming in number 27 is Coldplay's 2014 album Ghost Stories, which I think is a little underrated. It's definitely the best post Viva La Vida album for me, which isn't saying much, but it's still good. I think it gets overlooked a lot. It has a fun, kind of stripped back vibe to it, very nighttime, very dreamy sort of aesthetic. And it's a solid bundle of tracks here. There's no bad tracks on here. A couple of okay ones, but then also a couple who are good, but they're not trying too hard to be poppy like I feel they do on Milo Xyloto and stuff like that. It starts with Always in My Head and Magic, which are honestly some like my two least favorite on this album. But they're still good. It goes into Ink, which I feel like a lot of people don't like because it is one of the poppiest on this record, but I do think it's still quite strong with some of its production and instrumentation. Goes then into True Love, which is really fun. Midnight and Oceans are both tracks that are just kind of vibe tracks where they're really fun if you just kind of close your eyes and let the mood set in. Very good tracks. And Others Arms has a really fun sort of sample to it. Sky Full of Stars is obviously the big hit off this album, and although I do think it's a bit overblown on the chorus, like a lot of Coldplay hits post Viva La Vida, it's still good. It has a fun sort of thing going for it. And then it ends with Oh, or Fly On, or whatever, which is just a fun vibe song. And overall, this album, although it doesn't have a lot of crazy standout tracks, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing for an album like this. It's just very fun to sort of sit back and listen to. And the memorability of the tracks doesn't come from large hooks, it just comes from the quality of them, which I think is really good. Overall, this is a good album. It's weakened a bit by some of the lesser tracks, and also just the sort of, I don't know, some parts are slow. I'll give it that. There's parts in this album where, although the entire album is supposed to be slow paced, where sometimes it does get a bit repetitive or a bit long, but it's still good, and I enjoyed this album, and I plan on returning to it, which puts it at number 27, on to number 26.
Did you want me to change? Well, I changed for good. And I want you to know that you'll always get your way.
Coming in number 26 is Parachutes, which is Coldplay's 2000 album. It's their debut album, and it's a strong one at that. It has a very warm sort of feeling to it, like I'm getting hugged while listening to this album, and it's very cozy, and I love it. It starts with the track Don't Panic, which was off of the Blue Room, but is redone for this album, and I don't know which version I like more, but they're both great. It's very fun, and it goes into Shiver, which is also another amazing track, which with a very fun structure, very interesting to listen to. It goes then into Spies and Sparks, which are very low-key, very soft, very slow tracks, but I think they work very well. And then Yellow, which is very iconic, although it's not my favorite because I'm not sure if I'm a fan of some of the guitar tones on it. It then goes into Trouble, which is fun, and then Parachutes, which is a short little intermission track, kind of, and then High Speed, which was also off the Blue Room. The ending's a little weaker, but not by much. We Never Change is probably my least favorite track here, but Everything's Not Lost and the bonus track Life is for Living are both great tracks as well. So overall, this record's really consistent and really solid. The biggest issue is that, although I like a lot of these tracks, there's none that are particularly amazing, except for Shiver and maybe Don't Panic. But honestly, it's just really fun to listen through all the way through, very consistent, and it's a really great start for Coldplay, I think. A lot of people say it sounds a lot like Radiohead, just like with the Blue Room, and once again, I don't think there's like a copy here, I just think there's an influence, which is okay. Overall, it's a very solid album, it deserves being this high up. On to number 25.
Okay, you're never stopping now. You're never stopping now.
808s and Heartbreak is Kanye West's 2008 album. It's very iconic and it's very good. Definitely deserves the number 25 spot. It has a very different vibe from any Kanye albums that came before this. And it's kind of a vibe that he doesn't really touch upon again. It's kind of unique. It kind of sticks out in a good way with just how he presents the emotions that this album brings of heartbreak and just, I guess, that sort of loneliness and almost despair that he might feel with heartbreak. It starts with the track Say You Will, which is good. I like the sample, although I'll admit I don't think it needed to go on for an additional couple minutes at the end. It then goes into Welcome to Heartbreak, which I'm not a huge fan of, but after that it kind of goes into a big stride of great songs that really make this album what it is, where it has that same sort of melancholy tone, but with unique, different ways of presenting it, and with some really fun lyrics as well. There's Heartless, which is kind of the big hit off this album. Very good song. Deserves the popularity. Amazing is another great song. Very fun. Love Lockdown is great. Don't like it quite as much as other people, I think, but it's still good. Paranoid's beautifully written. It's an amazing song, and same with RoboCop, which I feel is a bit more divisive, but I still love that one as well, especially the chorus and just how sort of switch uppy it can be sometimes. That then goes into Streetlights, which once again is an amazing track. It's a slower track, kind of a cool down, um, and it's just really introspective and quite a vibe. We then kind of peter off into some weaker tracks like Bad News and See You in My Nightmares. Coldest Winter's okay, and then there's Pinocchio Story, which, it's not great for the reasons people always say, where it's kind of like a live track and whatnot, but it's not horrible. I think it's a little underrated. Excuse me. Overall, this album just has some great thematic elements in it, and it's really fun to listen to. And I think it deserves a re-listen sometime. And I think upon that re-listen, it might go higher. Because I mean, this really just is a really fun album to listen to, and really interesting. Uh, and it doesn't make you bored at all. You're always kind of interested with what's going on, except for maybe in the back half of this album, like with See You in My Nightmares and Bad News. But overall, it's just a really solid album. On to number 24. Coming in number 4 is Rare American's self-titled album from 2018. It's their debut album, and it's really good. They kind of have this sort of raw emotional energy that they don't really touch on with any other albums of theirs, not even at their best. And I think that really fits like all the songs here very well and makes it a really fun listen. Um, Also, they kind of touch on like the sound design in this album too, not just the thematic elements and the vibe of it all, but just the sound design of a lot of this is very unique to Rare Americans, and I feel like they branch in a different direction. And although that direction is good in some parts, I kind of miss this too. I wish we got some more of this sort of sounding stuff. And I think the best way to kind of describe this is just like, I think Balmoral Hotel is one of the best songs on this album, and it also has a lot of what I'm talking about here, where it has that sort of like deserty, sort of like almost dystopian sort of sound to it, where it's kind of like hope is lost, but like there's still, I don't know, it's just kind of rough and dirty around the edges. I don't know how to describe it. It's just really fun. Um, Balmoral Hotel, obviously, really great song, really interesting story behind it. Cats, Dogs, and Rats, another great song. That's the opener. Another great song, amazing story behind it, very fun. Moss Park's okay. Garbage Day is probably my least favorite on here, just because they go a bit too rough, and it has some of the less than stellar Rare Americans lyrics and vocals on here. But then there's just songs like Fuck You World, which are fun. I Had It Coming, Night After Night, I versus I, all really good tunes with really fun hooks, although sometimes they feel a little empty. And then we go into Hands Free, which is another great song, really fun social commentary sort of thing. It Was You, another great story song. And that's the thing with Rare Americans is that, they have they're very good at making a story to go around with the song, and they do it very well on this album. And they do it with a lot of tracks, and I just love that. Pay Me Back is the next song. That's another just really fun one, although the story is not as great as, say, It Was You or Balmoral Hotel. It's still a very fun song. And then it ends with Wake Up, which is a weird one, because it kind of sounds like it would be a song off their second record to me, Rare Americans 2. And I almost wonder, like, it makes it almost like a very good transition from album to album, whether that was on purpose or just completely accidental. It's a good song. And I mean, this album, it's very cohesive, although there are some hiccups like Garbage Day and Same Boat We Row, which are a little boring or a little not my style, I guess. But in reality, this is a short record. It's only 33 minutes for 13 songs. But it fills that runtime really well. And I think the short songs that are like sometimes less than 2 minutes. I think it really works with an album like this. And I think it's really well executed for a debut album. It's great. That's number 24. On to number 23. Coming in number 23 is Social Cues, which is Cage the Elephant's 2019 project. As of currently, it is their latest project, and it's really good. It has a very fun feel to it, although the consistency isn't quite there. Um, it has some really great tracks, but then it also has some that are quite boring. Luckily for this album, the great tracks are stellar. They're really fun, and they fit the emotional sort of dreadful vibe that this album goes for, with a lot of those fun electronical elements that I think they pulled off really well in this album. It starts with Broken Boy, which I don't like Broken Boy very much. It's one of the more popular songs off this album, but to me it's not great. It then goes into Social Cues and Black Madonna. Both of them excellent songs. Probably my two favorite off this album. Social Cues, very iconic hook, very fun message, introduces you to the album sort of in a way that Broken Boy I feel fails to. Black Madonna has some really fun production on it, and it's just a beautiful listen. It then goes into Night Running, which is, it kind of flips again, where it kind of, this song's kind of funny in a way, because just like, it doesn't achieve what it's trying to do, and it kind of misses the mark in a funny way. Then it goes to a good stretch, Skin and Bones, which is a fun song. It's good. It's not like as amazing as, say, Black Madonna, but it's still good. Ready to Let Go's amazing. House of Glass. I like House of Glass. It's divisive, and I see why, because it can be a bit grating. I kind of like how it's a bit grating. It kind of has a unique style to it that is just a little experimental, and I kind of like it. It's grating in a good way. That then goes into a bit of a weaker back half of the album. Love's the Only Way, Dance Dance, What I'm Becoming, Goodbye, all okay songs. War is Over is good, and then Tokyo Smoke's another great song near the end of this album that has this really sort of urgent energy to it. Overall, this album's a little dark, and I kind of like it. It kind of expresses, I think, what Matt Schultz was trying to express here with all the events going on in his life, and it's good. It's worth the listen. On to number 22. X and Y is Coldplay's 2005 album. I think it's best described as it feels like a journey through space. This is what Music of the Spheres should have been. It should have been X and Y, at least that amount of quality. X and Y is so much fun. It has all these spacey instrumentals, really amazing production for 2005. That, I mean, really, just a journey through space. Really fun. It starts off with Square One, which is an iconic opener. I really like how it kind of starts soft and quiet, and then the guitars boom in, and then Chris Martin kind of booms in with the top of the first page and all that. It's very fun, very, very energizing song that introduces you to this spacey atmosphere. It goes into What If, which is okay. It's one of the weaker off this album, I think, but then it just starts going, and it does not stop for a while. It has White Shadows, my favorite song off this album, which has, oh my god, such amazing production. Really fun pre-chorus that leads into this really energetic chorus. It's really good. Fix You's the big hit off this album. It's good. Honestly, there's other songs on here I would have thought deserved like the big hit status better, because this one's okay. It's not amazing. Not bad, but it shouldn't have been like the number one hit off this thing. Talk, another really fun one. Originally, this was my favorite off this album. It has this really fun guitar riff that they keep doing throughout the entire they do it in the beginning and through the courses, which is just really fun. This then goes into X and Y, which is just, it's another fun song where it has that very spacey feeling, fun lyrics, and you just kind of sit back in your little spaceship and let the music come to your ears. Speed of Sound, another great one. The message is a little weak, but then it picks back up with Low, which is this fast-paced song, which is a little darker than the rest of the album, and I think it really fits well. And that goes into The Hardest Part, another amazing song. This one's more of a piano-driven song, less spacey, but still really good. Then goes into Swallowed in the Sea, which is slower. Twisted Logic, which is this fun, booming sort of song. And then it ends with Till Kingdom Come. which is a bit weaker, admittedly, than the rest of the album. But I mean, this album overall is just really fun to listen through. Maybe one or two skips, but I mean, really, it's a great album. Coming in number 21 is Come Down Machine, which is The Strokes' 2013 album. I was this close to putting 5 Strokes albums in the top 20, but this one just missed the mark. It's still amazing. It's still really fun. Very underrated. People often overlook this album, I feel like, and I don't understand why. It is a very great album, despite it being one of the lower ones in their discography for me. It starts with Tap Out, which might be one of the best Strokes openers, but there is a competition for that, but it's up there. It's just so fun. It energizes everything, and it really kind of opens the curtains for what this album's going to be, which, by the way, this album as a whole has this really fun like 80s electronic retro sort of vibe. It's really fun, and I wouldn't even say it's nostalgic. I would just say it really captures that aesthetic really well. It has energy when it needs to have energy. It has really slow, sad points when it needs to. Back to the songs. All the Time. A lot of people don't like this song because people say it's soulless. I do agree that it is kind of trying to emulate old Strokes sounds. I wouldn't say it's soulless. It's pretty good though still, I think. This goes into One Way Trigger and Welcome to Japan, which are both really fun. One Way Trigger because of Julian's high vocals, like very high vocals, and then Welcome to Japan with its really fun guitar work. And although it's a little corny, I kind of love that song. 80s Come Down Machines after this, and when I talked about low points that are done really well, I'm talking about this song. This song is beautifully made. It's very sad. It's just, and I think it's overlooked too. It's an amazing song. Give it another listen if you don't think you like it. After that, we go into 50/50, which is the only song on here that I don't quite like. It's a little rough, and I get that that's what they're going for, but I kind of get a headache from it sometimes. We then go into Slow Animals, which is really fun. Partners in Crime, which has fun guitar work, even if the production's a little iffy on that one. Chances, which is really ethereal and just really fun. Happy Ending's good, and then Call It Fate, Call It Karma is iconic, with Julian Casablancas's even higher vocals in the choruses, which are just really fun to listen to and makes an amazing closer for this album. I don't understand how people overlook this album. It is iconic in so many areas, and you should give it another listen. On to the top 20.
A billion faces running around my head. All got opinions, but they don't mean shit.
Coming in number 20 is Cage the Elephant's self-titled album from 2009. This one is a great introduction to Cage the Elephant as a band. It has their sort of rough, raw sound that I think they kind of tried to recapture on albums like Thank You, Happy Birthday, but never quite did as well as on this one. It's a really great album throughout. There's a couple misses on here, but overall it has a lot of great tracks. I mean, Cage the Elephant, I feel like in a lot of their albums has the problem of inconsistency, whether that's Social Cues or Thank You, Happy Birthday, or in this case, they're self-titled. But the good tracks stand out. Lotus is so fun. I love Lotus so much. Great lyrics, great chorus paired with really great verses. There's a lot of iconic songs in here too. In One Ear, James Brown, and Ain't No Rest for the Wicked start off this album, all of which are really fun to listen to. Little Tiny Robots is okay, but the little sort of speaking bit at the end is pretty fun. I think adds a lot to the album as a whole. Back Against the Wall is another great track. You can't overlook it. Really fun. Unfortunately, from here it gets a little iffy. There's songs like Drones in the Valley and Backstabbing Betty that I never cared for very much. They're not bad. They're just kind of, I don't know. They do, other tracks in this album do what those songs want to do better. And then it kind of ends off pretty good with like Soil in the Sun. Free Love's pretty good, although there's some iffy moments. And Cover Me Again is an amazing closer. And I know I said I wasn't counting deluxe albums, but I'm gonna count "Cover Me Again" because one, that's on an expanded edition. That's the only added song on that, and two, that's the one that shows up in their discography on Spotify, so it counts. "Cover Me Again" is an amazing track. I'll say it again. Super fun. How it kind of builds instrumentally. Great song. Overall, this album very fun. A great start to Cage the Elephant. Um, and it deserves the top 20 spot. On to number 19. Coming in number 19 is This It, which is the Strokes' debut album from 2001. I feel like I'm going to get some hate for this, for putting it out of the top 3 Strokes albums, but I don't care anymore. I love this album, and if you're mad at me for not liking it more, then I'm really happy for you that you like this more than me. It's a great album. It kind of very iconic and very influential, obviously, but of course we're not counting the influence of albums. But even disregarding that, this is a great album, track by track, with that very iconic sort of early Strokes, garage rock sound that's very unrefined, especially with Julian Casablancas' sort of rough vocals. It starts with "Is This It?" With the self-titled track, which is okay, but then it just goes into the modern age, which is really fun. Great chorus. Soma, which is even better in my opinion. It just kind of flows really well, and you kind of bob your head along throughout the entire song. It then gets even better and better with Barely Legal and Someday, both of which are amazing songs with really fun choruses once again. If there's one thing the Strokes know how to do on this record, it's how to write an amazing chorus. Alone Together, another great song. I feel like that one might be a little more divisive because it's even rougher than the other songs on this record, but I think it works really well. It then goes into Last Night, which is the Strokes' one of their most popular songs, if not the most popular song. Great song. Not the best on this album, but it's good. It's really good. Hard to explain. I always thought was a bit overrated, and I'm gonna get a lot of hate for saying that, but I'll stand by that. It's a good song, but it's not my favorite. When It Started's iconic. Definitely overlooked way too much. I personally prefer When It Started to New York City Cops, which might be a hot take, but it's true. It then goes into Trying Your Luck, another excellent track with fun lyrics and a sort of dramatic chorus. And then it goes to Take It or Leave It, which might be my least favorite song on this record. And even though it ends on the weakest note, that doesn't mean it ends on a weak note. This song's still pretty good. Overall, this album has consistency and it has a really good style to it that's just really fun to listen to throughout. On to number 18. Coming in number 18 is Beneath the Skin, which is Of Monsters and Men's 2015 record. Did you forget that Of Monsters and Men was in this ranking? Because I did. Their last album got, 51st? And now we're jumping all the way to 18. And I think that's part of why I'd hate Fever Dream is just because of how disappointing it was and how much worse it is from their other 2 records. But we're not talking about Fever Dream. We're talking about Beneath the Skin. This record has a lot of the same sort of very fun, very imaginative folk pop music that Monsters and Men had in their first record. I think it's toned down a bit. I think this album relies on its choruses a bit too much. A lot of the verses are kind of forgettable, a little weaker, but it's still really fun. It still has a lot of that same magic that Of Monsters and Men know how to do so well. It starts with the song Crystals, which is iconic with its very fun chorus, which once again, I've said this for so many opening tracks now, but it just opens you to the world that is this album, and it kind of introduces you to what you're going to be listening to for the next 30 minutes to an hour. Overall, great song. After Crystals, it goes into Human, which is a good song, but then Hunger, which is an excellent song with a really fun chorus, really great lyrics. And then Wolves Without Teeth, which is the first song I knew off this record, the only one I knew previous to listening to the record. It's amazing. Wolves Without Teeth is so fun. I can't get over how fun that song is. After that, it dips in quality a little bit. Empire is a great song still. Very fun magic chorus. But as you go on, a lot of these songs, I'd be kind of saying the same thing, where it's very fun chorus with that nice magical folk pop sound. Um, but there's not much in terms of verses, and there's not much in terms of uniqueness between these tracks sometimes. I mean, there's slower tracks like Organs and Slow Life, and there's faster tracks, but overall, a lot of these kind of blend together, even if you're able to pick out the hooks. I mean, Blackwater, Thousand Eyes, Eye of the Storm, We Sink, all those tracks are good. All of them have some great elements, but it's hard to pick them out quite as much. And I'm being kind of critical to this album compared to the ones I was talking about previous, I feel like. And I should say that even though these songs don't have the uniqueness I'd like, they're also really good songs, and it makes for an excellent listen. But I feel like this works better if you're listening to this album while doing something else. It's hard to focus just on this album because sometimes it's like I feel like I've just heard this song. But overall, great record still. It captures a lot of that same energy that their first one did, although not quite as well. And it deserves a spot here. On to number 17.
Look, here comes the portmanteau. Isn't he Mr. Inconspicuous? And he don't even have to say, oh, she's in the stands ready to get picked up.
Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not is Arctic Monkeys' 2006 record. It's their debut record, and they go out strong with this record. A lot of fast-paced, fun garage rock, and it always has a bunch of fun switch-ups, fun instrumental parts. It's a great record. It starts with The View from the Afternoon, which, if I'm talking about switch-ups and fun instrumental parts, this is a great song to exemplify that. It's very exciting throughout. It never gets dull, never gets boring. This goes into I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor and Fake Tales of San Francisco, which are both good tracks. I think they're a bit overrated, both of them. I like the ending of Fake Tales of San Francisco and how it kind of booms out into this big thing. But I think the lyrics on Dance Floor are a little cheesy, and the first like half of Fake Tales of San Francisco is a bit slow. It goes into Dancing Shoes, which is a fun track. It feels different from the first three, and it does it really well. That's what it's doing really well. And then you probably couldn't see For the Lights. It's probably the weakest track on this album. It's fine, but I'm not a huge fan of some of the vocals, and it's okay. Luckily, from here, the album does not miss much of a beat. It goes into Still Take You Home, which is really fun. It has a bite to it. It's really good. Riot Van kind of slows the album down a bit in a good way with this really slow and nice to listen to track. Red Light indicates doors are secured. Another really fun, fast-paced sound, like with Still Take You Home, or even with View from the Afternoon. This goes into Marty Bum, which once again slows it down a tiny bit. This is one of my favorite songs off this record because I feel like Alex Turner's vocals are a bit more raw here and a bit more emotional, and this song just really connects with me. And then Vampires is okay, and then it ends with three amazing tracks. When the Sun Goes Down obviously has the slow start, and then it picks up into this fast-paced sort of thing that's really fun to listen to. From the Ritz to the Rebel has a similar energy to View from the Afternoon, in my opinion, where it has a bunch of switch-ups. It changes a lot, and it never gets dull. And then A Certain Romance is obviously very iconic with its very fun guitars, very sort of chill verses that, I mean, they're chill, but they're also really well written and really makes you think. Overall, this album's very cohesive, very fun. It doesn't really get very boring. So it's going to get a spot here. On to number 16. Number 16 is going to go to First Impressions of Earth, which is the Strokes' 2006 record. This one, I feel, is divisive. I love this record. It's very fun. It has this much more refined sound, which I know turned a lot of people off, but I think it's really well done here for the most part. And it makes for this really booming album. It starts with "You Only Live Once," very iconic track, great opener, very fun. And then "Juicebox," which is this heavier sound that the Strokes haven't really had up till this point, and I think it works really well on this song, and it makes it very dramatic. And then "Heart in the Cage" follows that up, and that's another great song. It's still heavier, um, and it's good. It's very catchy, and the lyrics are good as well. This then goes into "Razor Blade," another very great song. Not as heavy, much more upbeat sounding. The lyrics kind of make you think deeper, uh, and I just amazing opening 4 tracks here. It goes into "On the Other Side," which is okay, and "Vision of Division," which has a lot of. I like the song structure of "Vision of Division" a lot, but it's not as good as those first 4. I don't think. It then goes into "Ask Me Anything," and this is where the album drops off a little bit. "Ask Me Anything's" a little slow, a little boring, a little repetitive. "Electricity Escape" luckily saves the mood of the album by being this really underrated, fast-paced electric song that is kind of short, but it has a lot of it really grabs you for a moment there and really gets you back into this album. But really, once "Ask Me Anything" hits, even though "Electricity Escape" saves it, it kind of the rest of this album kind of struggles to hold your attention and does it, but it struggles because it goes into "Killing Lies," which is a little boring, "Fear of Sleep," which a lot of people don't like. I personally love the yelling choruses, although I don't really like the build to them all that much. 15 Minutes, which I know a lot of people also don't like because Julian Casablancas sounds very drunk on the vocals, but I think it kind of adds to it in a weird way, and also I kind of love the waltzy feel of this song. It then goes into "Eyes of the World," very energetic, very exciting, very bombastic and huge and booming, very fun. And then "Evening Sun" and "Red Light" end off this album, which are pretty good songs. But overall, this album, it holds your attention for the entirety, but it kind of it's a little wishy-washy with it. It struggles a little bit, and you can kind of tell at certain points. And you can tell that the Strokes were trying to do something new here because there's certain elements where things sound like it sounds like it's their first time doing it. Because it's a little not unrefined, but just not executed as well as I would have liked. But overall, it's a fun album. On to number 15.
Lord, shine your light on me, save me, please. Lord, shine your light on me, save me, please.
Coming in number 15 is "Kids See Ghosts," which is the collab project between Kanye West and Kid Cudi from 2018. This is an amazing project. My biggest complaint is I wish it was a little longer, some more songs, but honestly, it's very consistent. It's very good throughout. Not a single bad track on here. We'll start with "Feel the Love," which might be my least favorite track on here, but that by no means means it's bad. It's very fun to listen to. It goes into "Fire," which is very dramatic and just very energetic. And then "Fourth Dimension," which was originally my favorite track off this album, but has since changed. It's still very good, though. Very fun rapping in it. Very fun sample. It goes into "Free," which is okay. And then "Reborn," which is just a beautiful, beautiful song. "Kids See Ghosts" is really good. And then "Cuddy Montage," which is another beautiful, ethereal, even, song. This entire record is just overall really beautiful. Some amazing production, maybe one of the best produced albums I've looked at. It's just so beautiful. Really great songs on here. Honestly, don't have much to say that hasn't already been said about this album. It's just so consistently good. It has it's so much fun. Kanye West and Kid Cudi really complement each other on this album. Some amazing themes on here. I don't really have much to complain about here. Really, the only thing that's holding this record back a little bit might be just some of the slightly weaker tracks, and some dull moments in other songs. But overall, the parts that work on this album really work. I mean, it's really great when it needs to be. On to number 14.
Tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter.
Coming in number 14 is "Hybrid Theory," which is Linkin Park's debut album from the year 2000. Amazing album, very influential for nu metal, and just a great starting album. very well produced, has a lot of fun hip hop elements mixed with a lot of fun metal elements. Chester Bennington and Mike Shinoda are both on point with the vocals, and they just go back and forth really well in a lot of these tracks. The opener, Paper Cut, is very iconic and very well produced, very fun. One Step Closer, I don't like a lot compared to other people. Still a good track. Um, and that kind of keeps going throughout, where there's some tracks in here which fit the album very well and sound very good. Um, like One Step Closer, With You, Points of Authority, Runaway. And then there's tracks on here which are just stellar, very iconic, very fun to listen to, very moving. Crawling, By Myself, In the End, Place for My Head, Forgotten. The list just keeps going. Cure for the Itch is the instrumental track that they put on this album, and although I understand why people might not like it just because it's instrumental, I think it works with this album really well and kind of has a very nice intermission to it. Very well made, very fun instrumental. And then I believe the last track on the standard version is Pushing Me Away, which I'm not a huge fan of, but on the bonus edition, which I'm counting these songs, we have My December and High Voltage, which I'm also not a great fan of. Luckily, those were on the bonus edition, so I give them a little less weight here, just because I like this album a lot. It has a really good consistency to it, really good tone to it, a lot of great tracks, a lot of fun switch-ups, amazing instrumentation, and then great vocals by Chester Bennington and Mike Shinoda. I mean, they're on point throughout this entire album. It's great. Nothing else to really say about it. On to number 13.
How long must you wait for? Yeah. How long must you pay for?
Coming in number 13 is A Rush of Blood to the Head, which is Coldplay's 2002 album, their sophomore album. It is a strong album, very good. It has this very sort of urgent feeling to it, where there's kind of a little bit of tension, and then some songs have a sort of relief to it, and it makes this really compelling experience throughout the entire album. It's really great to listen to. Chris Martin's on point with the vocals throughout this album, and all the instruments work really well to make this really fun rock or pop rock record. It starts with Politic, which is iconic, and it obviously has that very booming, dramatic, almost like looming first half, followed by this really sweet switch up in the end to this really sweet piano sort of driven second half. And I think that works so well and kind of has a good representation of this album, where there's dramatic parts and then there's the really sweet sort of relief parts, which I'll call them. In My Place is an amazing track. It just kind of really flows really well. The guitars are beautiful on this guitar tone. Like, the guitar tones are amazing. Not on just this song, although I'll point it out on this song. The entire record has amazing guitar tones. God Put a Smile Upon Your Face is good, but I won't be focusing on that one too long because it's followed by The Scientist, very iconic. I think it's Coldplay's most listened to song on Spotify, and it kind of deserves it. It's very iconic, very good, and has some very sweet lyrics. Clocks is also iconic, a very enduring song off this record. Don't have too much to say about it, although I do really love that track. Daylight, also really fun. I think it's strings they use in this song with the verses, and those really complement this entire song and make it something unique. It gives the song an identity. Green Eyes is okay. It goes into Warning Signs, which has a really fun chorus, very beautiful, and then A Whisper, which some people don't like, which I don't understand. That is an amazing song. It's more of a mood song because the vocals are kind of quieter in the mix, and it's more focused on the instrumental and the guitars that kind of chug the song along, and it just kind of moves it along. It just feels very, very unique vibe to it, and I think it's a great song. And then A Rush of Blood to the Head, which is iconic, to me at least. Fun, soft piano bits, fun, booming choruses. That's kind of what Coldplay does very well. And then Amsterdam, which I don't like as much as other people, but I do recognize that this is a really great song, and I think I'll probably listen to it in the future, give it another shot. Overall, this record, it has some really amazing tones in it, with just how dramatic it can be, and then how soft it can be in like the next minute, and it works very well, and it makes this super engaging, um, and it's just very fun. I love this record. Um, it's gone to number 12.
Good morning. Good morning.
Coming in number 12 is Graduation, which is Kanye West's 2007 record. It's a very good record. The only thing holding it back is that I feel like it isn't as consistent as his other records, or his records ranked higher than this. The songs on here that are good are excellent, and I get why people love this record, but I feel like there's some songs on here that just don't work quite as well. The easy examples being like Drunken Hot Girls, which are just, that's like it's such a stupid song. It starts with Good Morning, very iconic, which then goes into Champion, which I'm quite frankly not a huge fan of. It's fine. It's a little, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the song. It goes into Stronger, which iconic. I love Daft Punk, so the sample is always a win. It's a little overrated, but it's good. Then we go into I Wonder, Good Life, Can't Tell Me Nothing. 3 great songs with some very fun production on them, and some good rapping from Kanye West. We then go into the bit of a weak spot with Barry Bonds and Drunken Hot Girls. I think Barry Bonds is a little underrated, but I still am not a huge fan. And then Drunken Hot Girls, I'm not even going to talk about that one because it's just not a great song. It then bounces back into an amazing album with Flashing Lights and Everywhere I Am. And then it kind of keeps switching back and forth. I mean, The Glory, not a huge fan of it. Homecoming, amazing song. Big Brother, not a huge fan. Good Night, amazing song. So overall, this record, when it works very well. There's a lot of songs on here which are amazing. Unfortunately, there's just a couple tracks on here, a few tracks, where they kind of pulled the album down for me, and it's going to keep it just out of the top 10 for me. Still, though, amazing record. Deserves all of the attention it gets. Very fun to listen through, and I would recommend it. On to number 11. Coming in at number 11 is The Hunting Party, which is Linkin Park's 2014 record. It pains for me to leave this out of the top 10 because it's a great record and it's very, very underrated. Why does no one talk about this record? It's so fun. It's definitely Linkin Park's heaviest record, and it's it's pretty unique. It doesn't sound too much like their other records, even though I feel like some people say this is supposed to be a people pleaser, and I feel like people use that synonymously sometimes with that this album's not unique. And although I can see it being a people pleaser in some ways, it's definitely still unique. It has a very distinct sound to it. It's heavier. Chester Bennington has a lot of more heavier parts, and Mike Shinoda, although he has a bit less in this album, when he's on the song, he does a very good job. Keys to the Kingdom, very iconic, and it really puts you in the mood for this record. We then go into All for Nothing and Guilty All the Same, 2 really fun tracks. So fun. Great guitar tones. Really great instrumentation throughout on these songs and on this entire record, even with the heavier sort of guitars. It's fun. The Summoning's more of an interlude, but it still works, and War is the only song on here that I don't like. It's just a little plain, and kind of like 50-50 was for Come Down Machine for me. Wasteland's a great song. Used to be my favorite off this record. Still amazing. Mike Shinoda's on point here. Chester Bennington's on point here. Very fun instrumental. Sticks out in this album in a good way. We then go into Until It's Gone, another great record, and then Rebellion with fun guitars, and just it's fun. It's fun. This entire record is. It's heavy, but it's not like depressingly heavy. It's just a very fun, heavy record to go through. Mark the Graves has a very booming sort of chorus, and although it's a very overlooked song, and it's not my favorite on this record by a lot, it's still good. Drawbar is a beautiful instrumental piece with some very fun guitars. And then we go into Final Masquerade, followed by A Line in the Sand, both of which are amazing tracks to close out this album. A Line in the Sand is a beautifully constructed track. It starts slow, and then it has very fun guitars, very fun verses, and then the chorus finally hits like 2 minutes in, and it really drives the song forward. And this song does not lose energy at all throughout its longer runtime. How long is this song? Like almost 7 minutes, and it doesn't lose energy. It's so fun. Um, it pains me to put this out of the top 10, but there are 10 albums better than this. On to number 10. Coming in number 10 is Melophobia, which is Cage the Elephant's 2013 project. It is an incredible project with a lot of great songs on it. If you were to look at a list of like the top 20, even top 10 songs that I've reviewed, you would probably think that Melophobia would be number one because it has a lot of those high up spots. The one thing that's really holding it back is the fact that although it has like half of the album as an amazing set of songs, incredible, it also unfortunately has that standard Cage the Elephant sort of inconsistency where it has just too many tracks on here that I wouldn't consider very good, which really holds it back because other than those couple of songs, it's an excellent album. It just doesn't have the consistency that it needs to have. It has that sort of rough Cage the Elephant sound that they like to go for, and it works really well here. It's not annoying like it is on Thank You Happy Birthday. It's just really well executed, really powerful. And I think it's really just a big improvement from their first two records and just kind of the epitome of what they're trying to go for here. It starts off with the song Spiderhead, which is really fun. Fun lyrics, fun melodies. I love the part at the end where it kind of has a switch up into that guitar solo. It's a very fun outro. It's a very good song. This then goes into Come a Little Closer and Telescope, which are both okay songs in their own right. They're not the best on this album, but they're not the worst either. It's Just Forever has that very fun booming, I guess, chorus where they just scream forever, and I don't know why, I just love that part. Very exhilarating. Take or Leave It's very fun. I feel like it's just kind of, I don't know, it's really good. I almost feel like they tried to replicate this song in a way on Tell Me I'm Pretty, but failed. This song is amazing, and it's great. Halo is an underrated legend of a track. It does not get nearly enough appreciation. Amazing throughout. Probably a 10 out of 10 song. Unfortunately, it goes into Black Widow, which is the worst song on this album, and which Matt Schultz's vocals are almost laughably, like, I don't know, they're just kind of laughable. It's not a great song, although it has some elements that are good, like some of the instrumental bits. Hypocrite, another amazing track like Halo, where it's good through and through, and I don't really have much to say that's wrong about that track. Teeth has a mediocre start, but it has one of those talking finishes, which I think Cage the Elephant does really well, and is very, very good for the mood of the album. And then it ends with Cigarette Daydreams, which is iconic, and just another amazing track off this album that has an amazing... It's another amazing track off this album that kind of ends it perfectly with this very introspective sort of vibe to it. Overall, this album, despite its flaws, is an amazing album. It's just unfortunate that those couple of tracks had to weigh it down, but it definitely deserves a top 10 spot here. Let's move into number 9.
I call it as I see it. I'm straight as shooters go. I might indulge a little in this life, you never know.
Coming in number 9 is Rare Americans 2, which is Rare Americans' 2021 project. This one is just one where a lot of the elements that makes Rare Americans good are at their best. James Priestner's vocals are on point. A lot of the instrumentation's on point. A lot of the sampling and sort of, I guess, sound effects that they use are on point throughout most of the album. it's just a really fun like pop rock record with a lot of elements of different genres in it. Starts with Brittle Bones Nikki, which is Rare American's most popular song, and rightfully so. It's a great track with all the switch ups, the story behind it. And I even mentioned this, but this entire album also has a lot of the great Rare Americans storytelling that I like in a lot of their tracks, with stories for almost every track. I mean, Milkman, amazing story, amazing track, really fun sort of outro speaking thing at the end, even though that's just a sample. But I think they did a lot of really good production on that song. Really beautiful. Falling Down and No Easy Roads are both really good, I guess, deep cuts off this album. They get you kind of excited for what this album's going to be, and they both give you kind of different flavors of Rare Americans, with Falling Down being more slow, and No Easy Roads being more fast and upbeat. Hullabaloo, iconic track. They kind of just go all out with the ridiculousness here, and it works. It's a great song. Knives, Guns, and Bed, another great song. Very has a big bite to it. Very fun. Berlin, and Gas Mask are both amazing tracks. Berlin, obviously, with how slow and emotional it is. I think that's a beautiful track. Up, Up, and Away, another great track. Unfortunately, near the end of this album, there's a couple of mediocre tracks, like 9 out of 10 and Adults or Kids, both of which I don't care for much. Also, Two Lives, I've never cared for a lot. But there's also other tracks like Ryan and Dave, amazing, amazing story, and a great song to go along with it. Missing Targets is a really fun song. Brittle Bones Nikki 2, another really fun song. I mean, this album's just filled track to track to track with fun songs, with great stories that I could listen to all day. Definitely an underappreciated band, an underappreciated album too. Um, it's amazing. It's really an amazing album. On to number 8.
Don't listen to a word I say. The screams all sound the same.
Coming in number 8 is My Head is an Animal, which is of Monsters and Men's 2012 project. This one has all of Monsters and Men magic imaginable. It's a very fun folk record. A lot of the stories here are much more deep than I feel like the stories are on their next record, which is why I prefer this one a lot. It's so unique and creative with each song, and you can kind of see that with their music video, lyric videos, even though those aren't counted in the ranking. It really shows the imaginativeness of this entire record, track to track to track. Dirty Paws is a great opener and really sets the tone for this album, and that tone continues throughout with a bunch of great tracks. King and Lionheart's this beautiful sort of love song, very soft but also very exciting. Mountain Sound's a very upbeat, exciting sort of creative track. It really drives itself forward. I'm iffy on Slow and Steady, but it bounces back with songs like From Finner, which are just so imaginative, with the story of the house on the whale, and Little Talks, which is the big hit, obviously, and is a great song, deserves the attention it gets. Very fun. 6 Weeks is nice. Love, Love, Love is nice, although admittedly I'm not a huge fan of some of the lyrics on Love, 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 and 6 Weeks does go a little long. Your Bones has a beautiful, beautiful melody to it where it kind of expresses what it wants without words, with the laws, which are kind of just the entire chorus. And that's one beautiful thing about this album, is that they don't need to express a lot of their themes and stories with words sometimes, and they do it beautifully with melodies. This goes into Sloom, which is my least favorite track off the album. It's a little slow. I'm not a huge fan. But then it picks back up with The Lake House, which is an amazing, amazing track. It kind of captures all the energy and magic that this album has and puts it in one song. And then there's the album closer, Yellow Light, which is mostly instrumental, and I think that is probably for the best, as it kind of has the album fade out with this sort of lullaby tune with soft bells, and it's just really beautiful. I know there's an expanded edition or deluxe or something with some other tracks on here. I didn't listen to that, and personally, I almost don't want to because I feel like Yellow Light's the perfect closer, and I don't know why they would add songs after that. Um, and so for now, that's all I know from this album. Yellow Light's beautiful. It deserves to be the closer. Overall, this album is very cohesive. It has a great arrangement of the tracks. Obviously, the magical energy of this entire album that I can't even really describe really boosts it up and makes it an amazing, iconic album that definitely deserves a spot here. Let's move on to number 7. Coming in number 7 is Angles, which is the Strokes' 2011 project. This one is amazing. There is a point in time where if someone asked me what my favorite album was, I would have said Angles. And I still consider it one of my favorites. It's amazing, track by track. Not really any weak spots here. The main issues for me with this one is one, the cohesiveness track to track, where a lot of the tracks kind of feel a bit disjointed from each other, and it kind of makes it so if the album feels more like a collection of songs than one idea. And then two, some of the instrumentation on here, although instrumentation's good, some of the production more so, I guess I don't like, where sometimes the guitar tones and such can be a bit grating and a little annoying to listen to, especially on some tracks like Taken for a Fool. But overall, those are my only two real complaints about this album. Everything else is done pretty well. It starts off with Machu Picchu, which is really fun, has really fun instruments in it. And that goes into Undercover of Darkness, which is probably my favorite Strokes song. It's so fun. Amazing, beautiful choruses with the backup vocals. That just really works so well. Two Kinds of Happiness might be the weakest on this album, but is by no means a bad song. It's amazing still, with its fun chorus, which is, I think, what was it, 7A? I don't quite remember. Don't quote me on that, but it's just a fun track to listen to. You're So Right is the next track. Highly, highly underrated track. It has a very fun sense of speed with the drums on it that kind of pushes it forward, and the choruses where Julian Casablancas kind of drones on, and you can't quite tell what he's saying, but it just has that sort of monotonous feel to it that it's really trying to achieve. And it almost just feels dreadful, but not in like dreadful to listen to. Dreadful as in that's the theme, sort of vibe, whatever. And it works very well and makes the song an instant like love for me. Taken for a Fool is next. Now, although I said that I don't care for some of the production, especially on this song, it is a good track. And then we got Games after that, which might be the most underrated track ever. This song is amazing from start to finish. The instrumentation is beautiful. The production on this song doesn't have that grating feel. It's amazing. The lyrics are fun, and Julian Casablancas speaks when he needs to, and then lets the instruments do the rest. It's done very well. Call Me Back is the next song. It's an iconic sort of guitar ballad with Julian's soft vocals. It's done very well. Gratisfaction's kind of like the song with a good beat, with a happy tune, but the lyrics are sad, and it's kind of like the epitome of that, I feel like, and it's just a very upbeat sort of danceable tune, but when you dig deeper a little bit, it becomes a much more meaningful song. Metabolism, another highly underrated track. It's definitely darker, just like You're So Right, but I think Julian does it so well and expresses his emotions so well in this song with those booming electronic choruses. And then we end the album off with Life is Simple in the Moonlight, which is another amazing track with a very sort of booming chorus that kind of is very grandiose, and it's just done really well. Julian Casablancas is on point here. All the band's on point here. I know the production of this album was really troubled. But honestly, I don't know if it shines through. I just love this album. It's great through and through. There's no bad tracks on it, I think. Just a bit of disjointedness and some weaker production, but it deserves a high spot. On to number 6. Coming in number 6 is Room on Fire by The Strokes. It's their 2003 record. I feel like I'm going to get a bit of flack for saying The Strokes are my favorite band. even though I didn't put a single album of theirs in the top 5. To justify that, their worst record was ranked like 33. The next best worst record was in the 40s somewhere. So I think the Strokes are definitely the most consistent, and that's why they're my favorite. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the Room on Fire here. Amazing record. It does a lot of what Is This It did, but I think it does it better. It has a lot more iconic tracks to me, although it is a little rushed in production, and you can kind of tell. Really, that's the only issue here, is that some of the production's rushed, which makes some of the mixing kind of iffy and but other than that, this is an amazing record. Starts with Whatever Happened, which iconic track, beautiful lyrics, very fun melodies. I think this might have the best 4-song opening of any album, with Whatever Happened, Reptilia, which is iconic, Automatic Stop, which has beautiful guitar tones, and just a beautiful song. And then 1251 ends the first 4 tracks. And that one's just a fun party song with some really good synths in it. There's a bit of a decline from here, but the songs are still amazing. You Talk Way Too Much is very fun. Between Love and Hate, both of those tracks I feel like kind of get lost in the mix, and I kind of forget about them sometimes. But if they were on any other record, they'd stand out as great tracks, I think. Meet Me in the Bathroom's one that I didn't like at first, but it's since grown on me. And I just love the very fast-paced chorus with Julian's sort of lyrics, and just feels very youthful and fun and fast. Under Control, not my taste, but I understand why people love it. It's a nice slower track. The Way It Is, I feel like, is the prime example of the production going wrong on this album. The drums don't sound great. Some of the mixing's kind of poor. It's probably the worst song on here, but it's still good. The end of Has No End is iconic, and then I Can't Win, which is an amazing closer with the very energetic Julian like yelling in the choruses. I mean, I love I Can't Win. Really, this album through and through is very consistent. It sounds very good. Julian's lyrics are very well executed, where they're simple yet sweet and very well done. The instrumentation here is really simple but sweet again. They knew what they were doing with this record, and I think it deserves a spot in the top 5, but unfortunately 5 other albums do, so I'm going to have to leave it here at number 6. But this is still an amazing record. I love it. Favorite Strokes record. Really good. Give it a listen. Let's now enter the top 5 albums. Coming in number 5 is Linkin Park's Meteora from 2003. This is an iconic album. If Room on Fire was an improvement of Is This It, Meteora is an improvement of Hybrid Theory. This album is scarily consistent. It has a great kind of tone throughout. This album is heavy to the right amount that it needs to be, where Chester Bennington is just the right amount of heavy. His vocals are on point. Mike Shinoda's hip-hop and rapping is on point. I mean, this is just a great album through and through. I don't have much issues with it. The production's great. And yeah, let's go track by track. Don't Stay is the first song. It might be my least favorite off this record, just because the verses are a little weaker, but the chorus is really fun to listen to. Somewhere I Belong is very dramatic and very good. Lying From You has that iconic sort of sample that they use in the verses, and then obviously the very heavy choruses that I think complement each other very well. Hit the Floor is another one that tests dynamics really well, where for the verses it's quiet, and for the chorus it's just Chester Bennington yelling, and it works very well. I think that track's a little underrated. Easier to Run's a little weaker, but once you get to the second half of this album, I think it actually gets better, where like every track is a hit. You start with Faint in the second half, which is very good, very iconic, a lot of fun instrumentation. It keeps you on the edge of your seat, very good. Figure 9 is next, and that is a super, super underrated track. I was actually surprised to find out that this one wasn't more popular, just because it has such a booming chorus that I feel like you can see like on Faint as well. It's another great track. Breaking the Habit has Chester Bennington using a much softer voice, and it works really well. It's very dramatic, and it's a great message. From the Inside might be the weakest on the second half, but that doesn't mean it's not good. A very great track, similar to Somewhere I Belong. Nobody's Listening is so underrated. It has the very fun instrumentation. Mike Shinoda has a great flow on this song. It's so fun to listen to. Sessions, an instrumental track that actually I think boosts the album a lot. It kind of does the same thing that Cure for the Itch did on Hybrid Theory, and I think it's another great instrumental track. And then we end with Numb, and I feel like everyone knows Numb at this point, but if you don't, go check it out. It's a great song, and it sums up this album really well. I mean, really, I don't think there's much in terms of bad tracks on this album. It's very consistent. It's very fun to listen to, very exciting. The messages and themes are great. I don't have much more to say about it. On to number 4.
Flicking through a little book of sex tips. Remember when the bars were all electric? And now when she told she's gonna get it, I'm guessing that she'd rather just forget it.
Coming in number 4 is Favorite Worst Nightmare, which is the Arctic Monkeys' 2007 album. It's kind of a crazy miracle that Arctic Monkeys has 2 albums in the top 4 even. But I mean, these are deserved. This is a great album. It's kind of the nighttime version to whatever people say I am. That's what I'm not. And it's great. It has a very fun vibe to it. A lot of great tracks, very consistent, except for The Bad Thing. That song sucks, and is probably why this album is not higher. Possibly not number 1. Because really, outside of that track, it's very consistent and very fun. I mean, I love a lot of these tracks. If Room on Fire isn't the best 4-song opener, it's probably this, because it opens with 4 heavy hitters. Hell, 6. It opens with 6 amazing tracks. I mean, it's track after track, really great. You start with Brian Storm, which is very heavy, very fast, very sort of almost rough. It's a refined sound, but it feels rough just in how quick it is, fast paced, energetic it is. The songs slow down, going towards the middle, with Teddy Picker being next, which is slightly slower but still has a punch to it. Very fun chorus, great guitar solo. D is for Dangerous is next, and it's kind of short, but it's very fun to listen to. Lyrics are fun. And then Balaclava, which I think is a great track, very kind of suspenseful, mysterious even. It has amazing outro, which uses the cowbell very well, making this another well-rounded song. And you got Fluorescent Adolescent, another amazing, well-rounded song. Beautiful song structure here, beautiful instrumentation, amazing lyrics. Probably one of my favorite songs I've reviewed thus far. Only Ones Who Know is the 6th track. It's a much slower song, kind of almost watery with just how slow and peaceful and serene it is. And it's beautiful. The lyrics are beautiful, and I love that track. From Here is slightly weaker. The back half of this album is slightly weaker, but that doesn't mean it's not great. We got Do Me a Favor next, which has a fun chorus and a nice message. This House is a Circus, which is very all over the place, kind of in a good way. If You Were There, Beware, which is really fun with the fun lyrics and the kind of almost creepy little thing they do at the end. The Bad Thing sucks. I hate The Bad Thing. But then it goes into Old Yellow Bricks, which is good. And then 505. And who doesn't love 505? I personally, I don't like it as much as other people. I think the first half's a little slow. But once it hits the iconic chorus where everything kind of jumps in, I mean, obviously that's an amazing part of that track, and it's amazing. It's an amazing end to this album too. Overall, fairly consistent album. A lot of iconic tracks, with great instrumentation, really fun production. Alex Turner is very good on this album. I don't really have much wrong to say about it other than that one track. Let's go on to number 3.
Put your hands to the constellations. The way you look should be a sin. You my sensation. I know I'm preaching to the congregation. We love Jesus, but you done learned a lot from Satan.
Coming in number 3 is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which is Kanye West's 2010 album. This one deserves all the attention that it gets, track after track. It's great. There's moments in it that I'm not a fan of, but like there's no tracks in here that I'd consider bad. Very iconic. The production on here is amazing. The sampling on here is amazing. Rapping on here is amazing. It's an amazing album. I have barely anything wrong with it. Dark fantasy, really iconic, sets the stage for this album. I don't like the poem thing in the beginning, but other than that, it's a great song. Gorgeous, iconic, power, iconic, all the lights, iconic, and also just really good songs. I don't even know what I should say about them that hasn't been said before. Give them a listen, because I mean, they're very unique, they're very well made. The themes on them, I mean, everything. They're just amazing tracks. Um, there's some songs that aren't as good, mostly near the second half. Mantra's alright. So Appalled's pretty good, although it does get a bit repetitive. Devil in a New Dress is an amazing track. Great production on it. Very fun. Runaway, obviously, very great track. I don't think anyone's really disputing that. I don't think I like it as much as a lot of other people, mostly just because of the like 2 minutes at the end with just the sort of very highly edited vocals that kind of blend to the background. I'm not a huge fan of that personally. It goes a little too long. But other than that, it's a great song. Hell of a Life and Blame Game are both good. I don't like the bit at the end of Blame Game, but it's still a good actual track when you look at only the musical portion of it. And then Lost in the World's insanely underrated. It's a great track, kind of brings everything together, wraps it up in a nice bow. Who Will Survive in America is more of a ending, outro, interlude thing, with mostly just talking, and it's great. This album overall is very cohesive, very exciting to listen to throughout, except for those few dull moments where there's something that goes on too long or a weird sort of skit thing. But overall, there's like no actual skips on this album. It's very consistent, great production. If it weren't for some of those minor issues, I think this probably would be number one. But those issues in there, it's going to settle here at number 3. Let's go on to number 2.
So we rode down to the river where Victoria goes spring. For their curses to be broken.
Coming in number 2 is Viva La Vida or Death and All His Friends by Coldplay, their 2008 project. I've mentioned it a lot already in this video, and that's just because it's an amazing album through and through. A lot of unique ideas here, great production throughout. Coldplay's best, definitely. It's a very fun album. Great sort of pop with elements of rock, or rock with elements of pop, whatever. It's just great. It starts with Life in Technicolor, which is a fully instrumental song. It's very fun, exciting, exhilarating, happy. Gets you excited for this album, which goes into Cemeteries of London, which has some of my favorite lyrical work in any Coldplay song, and has the fun sort of clapping, percussion stuff to it. Lost is next. It's a great song, very fun. I like the organs in it. Very, very almost grand. Sometimes that song is, and it's good. 42 is next, which is a 3-part sort of song, and at first I didn't like it because I'm not a huge fan of some of the lyrics, but it's grown on me a lot, and I think the structure of the song really makes it like very fun, exhilarating. It doesn't get boring. It's great. Lovers in Japan is the next track, and that one's just very touching, very sweet, fun piano in it. And then we go into Yes after that, which is another great track with very fun string instruments this time. It's much darker than a lot of the rest of the album, but it works really well. Chris Martin's using a lower register, which he doesn't usually do, and it sounds so good on this track, and I wish he'd do that more, because it's a really great sound. It's a great song in general. The strings really complement it. We then go into Viva La Vida, which everyone knows. I mean, that's just a very fun, grand track. Fun story behind it, very iconic. We then go into Violet Hill. That one's another one that's kind of grown on me through time, where it's very sweet but also very bombastic at times. And then we go into Strawberry Swing, which has some beautiful production on it with the reversed guitars and some sweet lyrics and some sweet songs to it, some sweet sounds and some sweet melodies. And then we finish off with Death and All His Friends, which starts with a simple piano ballad, but then the instruments all kick in around like the second half of that track, and it really booms into something else. And I think the instruments speak for themselves here, and really on the rest of the album, the instruments speak for themselves. Where not only are the themes conveyed through the great lyrics that Chris Martin is singing, but also through the great variety of instruments and variety of styles that they use here. I mean, it's really well executed in most spots. I don't have much of an issue with this album at all. I don't have much to point out. I mean, the bonus tracks were pretty okay. Rain of Love's a little boring. I've never been a huge fan of Chinese Sleep Chant, but those are pretty short lived, especially because they're just bonus tracks. As a whole, there's really not much wrong with this album. It's a great album. Love it. On to number 1. What is the best album, in my opinion? Let's see. Coming in number 1, the best album that I've reviewed is Humbug, which is Arctic Monkeys' 2009 record. This is kind of the opposite of Viva La Vida, whereas Viva La Vida is mostly very happy. This one's very dark, very twisted, and it's done really well. A lot of the instruments here really convey that on their own. Production's done well. Alex Turner is mostly good with the lyrics, and it makes for a great record. It starts with My Propeller, which has sort of the booming drums, and although the first half is rather quiet with just the guitars and the light drums with Alex singing, it kind of becomes this big thing near the end. It's a great track. Crying Lightning. This is one of the more popular ones off this record, and although I think it's one of the worst on this record, it's still really good with some really unique lyrics, some really fun melodies, and it kind of, once again, booms into this big thing once the chorus hits. Dangerous Animals, underrated track. I know a lot of people don't like the sort of spelling thing that Alex Turner does. I don't mind it. I think it's fine. Not good nor bad, but I think it's overall a good song with the fun melodies, some great guitar work, especially near the end with the guitar solo. It's really good. Secret Door is an amazing track. One of my favorites off this record. One of my favorites of all time, probably. It starts with this more darker sort of feeling to it, but then when the choruses hit, it's a lot softer, kind of lighter. It's a love song. And then near the end, it explodes again into this big thing, which works so well for this track, especially. And it makes the song structure this thing beautiful, and it makes it something that I've had on repeat for a long time. Potion Approaching's next, another underrated track. Some people don't like it because it's a bit rough around the edges, but I think that actually complements this track a bit. Some of the sound effect things that the group put in here didn't work quite as well, and that makes it a little iffy, but I think that's made up for with the sort of little breakdown in the middle of the song where it gets a lot softer and a lot almost more creepy. It's very well done. Next, we got Fire in the Thud, another beautiful track with some really great synth work and some beautiful lyrics that are kind of hauntingly beautiful almost. It's really great. And then Cornerstone, which is the other really popular song from this album. This one was a grower. I wasn't a huge fan at first, but I think I get it now. It has a very fun melodic structure. The lyrics are really great, and then it kind of becomes another big thing in the end, like a lot of these tracks do. I think it only helps this album that it has a lot of these big booming choruses with the softer sort of verses, because it makes it seem a little more intense at times, and it works really well. We then got Dance Little Liar and Pretty Visitors, both of which are great tracks. Dance Little Liar is a little more sad and gloomy and a little softer, and then Pretty Visitors is much more heavy, probably one of the Arctic Monkeys' heaviest tracks. And then we got The Jeweler's Hands, which is a beautiful, near perfect, if not perfect song with the slow, sort of carnival-esque verses in the first half, and then you think the song's over and the drums kind of kick back in and it becomes this big instrumental outro solo thing where Alex Turner's vocals kind of fade into the background as it kind of fades to silence. I mean, that's just beautiful. Amazing outro track. Maybe the best outro track of all time. It's great. My biggest gripe with this album is some of the lyrics are iffy. I think a lot of people have that same issue with this. I mean, Alex Turner has a lot of great lyrics on here, but a couple of them just don't hit and are a little awkward. And it might be a controversial take to put this album at number one. I know it's a little divisive. I personally, I love this album. It track after track is just really great. And even though it's ranked at number one, it's worth saying that this isn't a 10 out of 10 album. I've not encountered a 10 out of 10 album yet. But it's up there. I mean, it's close, maybe. Anyway, it's a great album. I don't know if I have much else to say about it. And that's it. That's the best album in my opinion. I'd like to thank everyone for watching this video, for looking at these albums. I'd like to hear your opinions, of course, and I might make videos for individual albums later on. We'll see. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys respect my opinion on this. Overall, it was fun to make this video, and I can't wait to listen to more music. See you guys.